Hello everyone, welcome back to YK Reviews, as we're taking a break from the Chucky franchise movie review, which you can find a playlist somewhere in the video here and also on the channel. I decided to check out Stephen King's latest movie called Mr. Harrigan's Phone. So let's get into it here. So with Mr. Harrigan's Phone, it's one of Stephen King's latest short story books that's been developed into a movie. It's on Netflix. So it came out on the 5th of October. So if you are interested, check it out on Netflix here. Basically what the movie is about, it's a young boy named Craig. He becomes friends with this elderly billionaire, and this is around the time when the iPhone 3 came out. So the young boy Craig decided to give this man a phone. And once the old man dies, Craig starts noticing that he can contact this elderly billionaire from beyond the grave using that iPhone that he gave him. So with this review, it's going to be a non-spoiler review. From what the premise is and from what the trailer is, it kind of explains to you how the old man dies and that kind of information there. So everything beyond this will be non-spoilery. Now when the trailer got released, I noticed it's from a Stephen King novel. I was instantly hooked. Movies that are based on Stephen King's have been just such a great success. There's so many good ones. Like the most examples that I can think of: Shawshank Redemption, the It movies. You've got The Shining and Doctor Sleep. You've got The Thinner. You've got Pet Sematary. You've got Misery. You've got Green Mile. Like the list just goes on and on. There's been so many great film adaptations based on Stephen King's novels. So with this one, I was very, very hooked and very curious to see what the type of movie that they were going to produce here. So what I really enjoyed with this movie in itself is that the setup to the relationship. So essentially the young boy Craig, he befriends this elderly billionaire by having the billionaire basically get Craig to like read to him, because he enjoys his voice and he just wants to like hear somebody read to him. So straight off the bat they start developing that, and they start developing the relationship. They really focus heavily on their relationship as it grows, as it adapts throughout the years, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed getting to see like how that relationship develops, how the trust gains, how you get to see the closeness and the bondness that they're sharing, where they're opening up to each other, asking each other personal questions, even giving each other like gifts. As I mentioned in the synopsis of the movie, basically Craig gives this old elderly gentleman, Mr. Harrigan, an iPhone for him to use, so that you can really feel the bondness. It sort of feels like a grandfather-grandson type relationship, which came very heartwarming. And we basically get to see Craig, who honestly, played by Jaeden Martell, I believe his name was, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, he did a fantastic performance in this. He was also in the movie It, and that's I believe where the first time I saw him in, and he really, really nailed this role. When you first start off, you get to see him as like a younger version, a different actor, but then, as I mentioned, over the years, you get to see that relationship grow, develop, and he really did an amazing job. Like, his performance was impressive, and you know this kid can act. Like, he really did a fantastic job throughout the whole movie. The range of emotions he did, the dialogue, the back and forth he would have with him, and like that's what I was mentioning too. It's like this grandfather-grandson type feel. It really has a great connection between the two of them. I really like the pairing that they had and like what they would do for each other, and some of the dialogue that Craig would like give towards Mr. Harrigan. Like, for example, this ain't going to dive in too much into spoiler territory, but he just asks him, why do you keep coming back here? And just Craig's response and like the actor's speech and like his dialogue and like his emotions was really, really amazing to look at and amazing to watch. So I have to give a huge shout out to him for what he did in the movie in itself. However, one of the things that like I feel like is really holding the movie back is the pacing of the movie. Like, it spends, because the movie in itself is about an hour and 45 minutes roughly, and it spent like a lot of time just focusing on the relationship between Craig and Mr. Harrigan. Like, it focuses heavily on that, and I would say for like 45-50 minutes it's just looking at that, working on that. That's what you get to see for most of it. So not a lot really happens as like the movie's progressing. It's very slow paced, very short in terms of like drama and tension and that kind of stuff. So you're waiting for like a payoff, you're waiting for something to like happen, but not a lot happens in the very first half of the movie. The movie starts slowly picking up because as I mentioned, once Mr. Harrigan dies and Craig has his iPhone, that's when the movie really starts picking up, and that's when he starts having that connection from beyond the grave basically. However, from what I'm seeing in the trailer, I kind of came into the movie with a different expectation from what was delivered to me, and if you've seen the trailer and you had the same thoughts as I did, you might be feeling the same way. But even once the older gentleman, Mr. Harrigan, passes away, it doesn't pick up in terms of the pacing that I thought it would. It's still very, very slow. It's sort of like a slow moving car that doesn't really speed up or go through any like bumps or anything like that. It's still very, very slow in the second part of the movie, because as I mentioned with Craig, he basically carried this movie with his performance. So you had his great back and forth, he was bouncing off of Mr. Harrigan's character, but then once he passes away, he sort of like just picks up the movie himself and just carries that second half of the movie. But what was just very frustrating is that what I was expecting didn't really happen as much as I wanted it to. And if you've seen the movie, you might know where I'm coming from there, and I don't want to go into too much spoiler territory here, but it just didn't go it's like I thought it would be going to. It feels like they held back a lot from what I'm observing here, and even some of like the choices that they had, because with Craig he's going to school, but like the choices that they had, like they were so, and I understand that it's because the iPhone came out, they wanted to focus on that, and I honestly don't remember, it's been so long since the iPhone 3 came out, how it was like, because it focuses a lot on like everybody's just sitting in the cafeteria just texting and not even talking, which was very frustrating to look at. Like for example, when they had like the school dance, the winter ballet, I'm not sure what you call it here, like the school dance at the end of term. But instead of asking each other to the dance, they just texted each other even though they were right in front of them, and it was so frustrating to like watch these kids text, and I sound like such an old man right now with that, but I don't remember it being like that when I was in school, and I sound like my parents right now, but I don't remember everybody sitting there texting each other. I remember we would have conversations in school, but I'm digressing. I'm just going on a rant here, but that was one part of the frustrating thing for me here. But then as you're getting towards like the plot, as you're getting through from the second act towards the third act, I just felt like it was very flat, especially towards like the ending and the ending in itself. I was left disappointed. I was expecting a lot more, like the ending and the way the movie ended in its entirety just kind of left me like feeling flat. Like I mentioned, I was watching the trailer, I was expecting something completely different, expecting something more, but what they did produce in the movie in itself, and like what was the outcome of the movie and the outcome in the end, it just kind of, I thought there was going to be more after that scene. The movie just kind of felt sudden and just felt like they left a lot out. But in terms of overall, in terms of the plot, like I had a good time with the movie in itself. I thought they did a fantastic job based on like it being on a short novel here, and I like what they did in certain aspects of the movie in itself, but overall it did kind of leave me a bit disappointed, because as I mentioned, the first half was very just heavily focused on the relationship and the development between the two of them, and the second half not a lot happened, or not a lot was really picked up once the big moment of the old man passing away. So I kind of just was feeling like a bit flat, a bit disappointed with the overall story of the movie in itself. It wasn't one of Stephen King's strongest film adaptations. I'm guessing it is because it was just based on a short novel here, but in terms of like recommendation, I would say that if you are a fan of Stephen King, then definitely check out this movie. If you are going to go into this movie, then expect a very slow burn type movie. But as for me, if I would recommend it, I would, just because it's based on a Stephen King movie, and I feel like it does deserve recognition because Stephen King is such a fantastic writer, and a lot of his like film adaptations do produce some good stuff. But I would go in there with low expectations. Like, if you're going to watch the trailer, just be aware of like what the trailer's showing, and not to go in expecting a whole lot, basically, if that makes sense. But I did overall have a good time with the movie, I have to say. Like, I did enjoy the overall experience of the movie in itself. But if you have seen the movie, let me know down in the comment section below what you thought about it. Please, no spoilers, however, but do let me know down in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos here. I've got a whole ton of Chucky movie reviews posted on the channel, so check that out if you get the chance, and expect a whole lot more of horror movie reviews coming up. We're finishing off the Chucky franchise here. Coming up after that would be the Halloween one, so expect a lot more coming up. And again, thank you so much for watching, thank you so much for listening. This is YK Reviews.